Part 15. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 141. Chapter 141, Have you ever eaten these before? One more request for customization. After Subai brushed his teeth, he simply ate some breakfast and began to sit at the table to deal with some things. When the chief of the spotted deer tribe comes next time, they will start talking about cooperation. As long as we start cooperating, there won't be much time left to take back the ancestral land, so we need to start planning now. I almost forgot to sign in. Subai was so absorbed in thinking that he almost forgot about it. System, sign in and open the assistance package, he secretly called in his heart. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully signing in. Ding. Congratulations to the host for receiving primary aid, a box of instant noodles. Subai saw the instant noodles appearing out of thin air in front of him, and raised his eyebrows slightly with an indescribable expression on his face. He paused for a moment, then said with a smile on the other side of the earth, instant noodles are everywhere every day, but now I have traveled here. Also instant noodles. But it's different now. He doesn't rule out that the emergence of instant noodles can be said to be a good luxury. I eat greasy barbecue every day, and finally getting a box of instant noodles is a great gift. Yuying heard a slight movement, stopped the linen clothes in her hands and raised her head. She saw a box of things suddenly appeared on Wu's table, and said in surprise, "Wu, what is that?" Subai lowered his head and glanced at the instant noodles, then raised his head at the confused fox-eared lady. The corner of his mouth twitched a few times, and he felt a little embarrassed for a moment. He thought to himself that it would be better not to open the package in front of them next time. Subai, after organizing his words, he explained, "This is delicious, do you want to eat it?" Delicious? Is it barbecue? The first thing Yuying thought about was barbecue. It's not barbecue, this is instant noodles. Go and call Ahua, and I'll make them for you to eat, Subai said softly. When there are delicious things, he will still think of the horned lady. It can be regarded as the reward for the other party's first barbecue. Anyway, this is what Subai convinced himself. Instant noodles, Yuying scratched her cheek and continued, I'm going to find Sister Ahua now. Tap tap tap. 10 minutes later, the fox-eared girl retrieved the horned girl. At this time, there were 3 wooden bowls placed on the table in the tent. These wooden bowls were delivered yesterday after the ancient wood was made. The wooden bowls, wooden basins, and wooden barrels were all delivered. The tables in the tents were also replaced with wooden tables. Wu, what is that instant noodles? Yanhua asked curiously. She stopped training when she heard there was something to eat. You will know after you try it, it tastes even better than Painazidam noodles, Subai said with a smile. The two of them sat at the table curiously, staring at the 3 bowls of instant noodles, unable to move their eyes away. Yanhua blew his nose, smelling the fragrance wafting out, and said in surprise, okay, smell this smell. Subai lifted up the wooden board covering the wooden bowl and said, it's ready to eat. You can eat too. He picked up the chopsticks and stirred the noodles in the wooden bowl, so that the sauce and water were perfectly blended together. Of course, the chopsticks were also made of ancient wood. It is not difficult to make chopsticks. Just use 2 similar wooden sticks to polish them. It is rare that it just needs to be smooth and straight, so when choosing firewood, you must choose straight ones. Yuying also followed Subai's method, opened the wooden board and started stirring. As soon as she opened the lid, she was surprised. Instant noodles, the fragrance that came out was sucked into the nose by the fox-eared girl. She praised repeatedly, which, the smell of this instant noodles is so good. Although it smells great and looks red, is it really edible? Yanhua also opened the wooden board. This is spicy beef flavor, the red color is chili pepper, try it now. Subai had already begun to suck it into his mouth. Yu Ying also followed suit and awkwardly picked up the chopsticks and began to pick up the instant noodles. Since it was the first time to use chopsticks, she often couldn't pick up the noodles. She bit her tongue half biting and picked up the instant noodles. After several times, he muttered, "Woo, I still can't learn this chopsticks." When the chopsticks were made, she always thought that the two chopsticks were used for inserting meat into the meat, but she didn't expect that they were used for pinching. When they ate paneseedum noodle before, they also used wooden sticks to scoop it into their mouths. Can't learn Sudbai's operations? Then you'd better pull the noodles into your mouth, learn slowly and don't be in a hurry. Sudbai smiled. Every time he saw the fox-eared lady using chopsticks, it was also a source of happiness for him. Now people in the tribe have begun to learn to use chopsticks. The benefits of using chopsticks are self-evident. It is always better than using dirty chopsticks. Use your hands to grab it, or stick it in to eat. Woo, look, I clamped it up. Yanhua looked proud. She learned how to use chopsticks after just a few attempts. Try it quickly to see the taste. Don't soak it for too long. The noodles will be too soft and won't taste good, Sudbai urged. Yanhua put the noodles on the chopsticks into his mouth, chewed them several times, widened his red eyes, and said in surprise, "It's really delicious. It's really better than paneseedum noodle. It's the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. Yu Ying is so delicious that the fox's tail keeps wagging. If you drink the soup will also be delicious." Sudbai has already finished eating the noodles and soup. This instant noodles can be said to satisfy his craving. It has been too long since he has eaten delicious food from the other side of the world. He finally got a portion, so he has to cherish it. Yu Ying also took a sip. Although it was a little spicy, it was tolerable. She nodded with satisfaction and praised Wu, "You are really amazing. Have you ever eaten these before?" "Yes, eat it every day." Sudbai smiled bitterly. This is indeed the case on the other side of the earth. He eats it as a midnight snack every day. "Wu, you are so happy." Yanhua took a big sip of the soup, thinking that it was good to be in a big tribe, and the food was different. Sudbai paused, looked at the two innocent girls, and said seriously, "You will also be so happy in the future." Because of this incident, he accelerated his desire to develop the tribe and decided to bring the tribe to a better future. Please update for support and customization. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 142. Chapter 142, The Skin of the Stone-Armored Crocodile. 2 more, please customize. After Sudbai finished eating the instant noodles, he took out the wolfberry paper and quill, and started planning what to do next. The horn girl left after eating, and still wanted to continue training. After all, her first goal was to become a totem warrior. The fox-eared lady just continued to sew her linen clothes, and in the past 2 days she had almost finished sewing another one. But this time it was different. She was sewing a top. This was Sudbai's order. He was still not used to being shirtless. What's next? Sudbai frowned and murmured to himself. He originally wanted the people in the tribe to do physical training, but after thinking about it, it was not necessary. The people in this tribe were already training, and the intensity was not just running. So there is no need to train again. Sudbai held the quill and thought for a while, then muttered, "First of all, we must have weapons. A longbow alone is not enough." He drew the outlines of various weapons on the paneseedum paper, and was thinking about which weapon was easier to materialize. There were long knives, short knives, spears, etc. drawn on the paneseedum paper, and even large figures were drawn on it. Large weapons like machetes. There is no need to produce so many machetes, and only the totem warriors can hold them, Sudbai murmured to himself. The raw materials for making weapons in this era are all stones. The machete is so large and must be heavy to hold. Ordinary people cannot lift it. And this time the battle is not only participated by totem warriors. Ordinary people also have to participate. Number of people and weapons are the criteria for victory in this era, and they are indispensable. The most important thing is food. The lack of food in the tribe will sharply reduce the morale of the warriors. Next is the long knife. This is very important, Sudbai said seriously. The long sword is prepared for those preparation warriors. They are not all training, and their physical strength must be good. Holding a small long sword can give full play to their advantages. Next is the spear. The spear is a relatively long weapon and can be used by the warriors charging in front. Sudbai rolled his black eyes and thought. The only things left on the wolf's tail paper were long knives, machetes, and spears. He looked at those pieces of paper and began to think about which type would be the best to use. Okay. What he just drew is just a broad category, not specific weapons. For example, there are several kinds of long knives, such as Tang Dao, single sword, Feng Shui Dao, Hang Dao, etc. Each of them the knives are all different. This gives Sudbai a little headache. With so many kinds of knives, he must choose the best one. Tang Dao. The Tang Dao is better, but is the Tang Dao made of stone durable? Sudbai kept talking to himself. He was a little confused. There was not much time left, only 10 days at most. It takes time to build knives. There was no extra time for him to experiment one by one, so he could only be the first find the most suitable one at the first time. As a military sword on the earth, the Tang Dao's biggest role is combat, and its production process is strict. And another use in combat must be considered, that is, armor breaking and durability. Of course, people in this era didn't have any armor, they only wore animal skin clothes. Therefore, it was not necessary for Tang knives to be made of steel. Anyway, there was no such thing in this era. But it's not very good to use stone. Although stone can be made very thin, it is not durable. If it is not chopped properly, it will break. Sudbai shook his head repeatedly. He picked up the cup next to him and took a sip of water, while tapping his index finger on the papyrus paper. Sudbai pursed his lips slightly and said to himself, what about animal bones? Some animal bones must be very hard, right? He thought that the black eyes were bright, and he raised his head and asked Yuying to invite Shan Shan. For some things, it was better to ask the mason directly. The answer would come faster, and it would be better than speculating for a long time. After 10 minutes, Hui Er Niang brought Shan Shan into the tent. As soon as the latter heard the summons, he immediately came out of the tent. Wu, do you want me to build something? Qiao Shan asked as soon as he entered. I do want you to build something, but before that I have a question for you, Sudbai asked. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, as long as I can help you. Shan Shan said immediately. Sudbai handed over the wolf's tail paper on the table and said, take a look at this first. Shan Shan took the Painazetum paper, and his first reaction was strange. He kept flipping the paper up and down. He hesitated for a moment, and then asked, which, is this the paper you mentioned before? Well, this is paper, used to replace the animal skin roll. Sudbai nodded. The feel and thinness of the paper surprised Shan Shan. He didn't expect such a thing to exist in the tribe. He took a few deep breaths, calmed down, and asked, which, are you asking me to build something on paper? Yeah, but instead of using stones, is there any way to use something else instead? Sudbai asked seriously. You want me to try to build it with animal bones, right? The hill guessed. Sudbai nodded. He didn't expect that the mason was a mason and could know what he was thinking. Shan Shan frowned and looked at the wolf's tail papyrus seriously, pursed his lips and said, it's not impossible, but you have to find the right one. Only animal bones can be used. Many animal bones nowadays are relatively fragile. The animal bones returned from hunting are very fragile. Only the bones from the claws of the ferocious beasts are used to make mallets, and the teeth and skulls are used for decoration. Are there any suitable animal bones in the tribe that can be used for making? Subai asked. There are no suitable bones within the tribe, but the skin of the stone crocodile can be used to craft the weapon you desire, Shan Shan explained. The skin of a crocodile? Subai was a little surprised by this answer. Second update, please support and customize. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 143. Chapter 143, Impossible Mission? 3 more please customize. Yes, the skin of the stone-armored crocodile is very hard and cannot be broken easily. Shan Shan looked serious and continued, if it is used to make this knife designed by Wu, I think it will be very suitable. If that's the case, then why didn't anyone capture the stone-armored crocodile before and come back to make a knife? Subai asked curiously. He remembered that he wanted to catch some stone-armored crocodiles before, but he didn't expect that the stone-armored crocodiles would be so useful now. Stone-armored crocodiles are very ferocious and there is no way to catch them. When he was in his ancestral land, the old witch also considered catching stone-armored crocodiles to make knives. Shan Shan said in a deep voice. Subai nodded thoughtfully and asked, how many knives can a stone-armored crocodile make? If a stone-armored crocodile can only be used as a knife, then there is no need to risk catching it. Not only is it a waste of time, but it is also a great threat. One stone crocodile can make about 3 knives of your design, Shan Shan carefully analyzed. Then this quantity is still acceptable. One stone-armored crocodile can make 3 hard tang knives, which is still worth the risk. Subai began to plan. Wu, why are you suddenly building this kind of knife? Shan Shan was still curious about this. Subai sipped his saliva and explained, we will soon take back the place that belongs to us, and the weapons are the most important. Shan Shan's expression didn't look surprised, but more of annoyance. He had already known that Wu wanted to take back his ancestral land. What he was upset about was that he couldn't help, and his tone was a little dejected. I understand. Don't think that you can't help the tribe. As long as you can make Tang Dao, you will be a big help. Subai must have seen what the other party was thinking. Shan Shan's originally gloomy mood was swept away. He immediately became serious and said with great energy, which, I will definitely create this weapon, this Tang Dao. How long does it take to build one? Subai still needs to find out the time of creation. Shan Shan carefully looked at the wolf's tail papyrus again, and almost put it in front of his eyes. He observed it for a while, stretched out a finger, and said seriously, 1 handful a day, but only if there are enough materials. A handful a day. Although this time is considered short, time is tight now and there is no way to mass produce it. Subai frowned and continued, then take a look at the other items, including a spear and a machete. Are there any other materials can replace stone? The current spears in the tribe are all sticks with a sharp stone tied to a vine at the end. This kind of weapon is only used to scare people. It can be said that it is useless in a real fight. Secondly, the tribe has nothing to take. Most of the weapons used are either heavy stone knives or animal bone mallets. The animal bone mallets have not undergone any major modifications, they are just large bones. People who are fastidious will tie some sharp objects to the ends of the bones. Crushed stones make the animal bones look more lethal. The end of the spear can also be replaced with animal bone, which will be more lethal. The hill paused for a moment and thought, as for the machete, it may only be used by totem warriors. Your idea is the same as mine. The machete should be given to the powerful totem warriors, while the spear and Tang Dao can be given to the reserve warriors or the agile totem warriors. Subai analyzed. Wu's analysis was correct. There was no way to replace the machete with anything other than stone. Shan Shan explained. Okay, then make the spear and machete according to your idea. As for the tang knife, I will have people capture the stone-armored crocodile and come back Subai ordered. Shan Shan was stunned. He thought Wu had given up on the idea of Tang Dao. He was shocked and said, Wu, the stone-armored crocodile is difficult to catch. Don't worry, I have a solution for this. You can make as many spears as you want first, Subai said in a deep voice. Okay, I'll go now. The hills are ignited with enthusiasm again. Since you can't rush to the front, then help make the weapons to rush to the front. Subai nodded lightly. He looked at the shaking door curtain and began to think about ways to capture the stone-armored crocodile. He was bound to get the skin of this stone-armored crocodile. Xiao, go call Kangxi, Subai said softly. Good Yu Ying didn't dare to stay for a moment and ran out of the tent. She couldn't understand the conversation just now, so she just wanted to call someone for help as soon as possible. 10 minutes later, Kangxi followed Fox-Ear Girl back to the tent. On the way at that time, he asked the fox-eared lady, but the answer he got was intermittent. Kangxi opened the tent curtain and asked nervously, which, are you looking for me in an emergency? It's not an urgent matter, but it's something only you can do, Subai said seriously. Kangxi stood up straight, blinked his purple eyes, and said, which, please give me your instructions. I want you to help me hunt down some crocodiles, Subai said word by word. Hunting, kill, stone-armored crocodile. Kangxi suspected that he heard wrongly and continued to ask, which, are you talking about the stone-armored crocodile? That's right, it's the stone-armored crocodile. I want a lot of it, not just one or two, Subai repeated his words again. Kangxi came back to his senses and nodded, saying, which, the stone-armored crocodiles are very ferocious, and there is no way we can catch them. When they were in the ancestral land, the old witch also mentioned this idea. Even if they were asked to bring witch dominoes, they were not sure they could catch them. I know that the stone-armored crocodile is very ferocious, so of course I don't want you to catch it with your bare hands, Subai said with a slight smile. Wu, how to catch him? Even with the witch dominoes, we are not sure we can defeat them, mainly because the stone-armored crocodiles all move together. Kangxi's one-on-one battle with the stone-armored crocodile is no problem. But the bad thing is that the stone-armored crocodile doesn't act alone, almost all of them appear together, which is a bit overwhelming. Third update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 144. Chapter 144, The Witch Gets a Gift. One more, please customize. It's definitely impossible to catch it with bare hands, but it's different with weapons, Subai smiled and said. Did Wu talk about using a longbow? Kangxi asked curiously. The first thought in his mind was the longbow. Subai raised his eyebrows slightly and said, that's half right, but this weapon is not a longbow. Wu, do you have any other weapons? Stone knives and spears are definitely useless against stone-armored crocodiles. Kangxi said, puzzled. Subai turned to look at Fox-Ear Girl and ordered, Xiao Yu, take out that bow. Yes, Yu Ying opened the box and took out the recurve bow that she had put in before. Subai took the recurve bow and explained, this is called a recurve bow. It is more powerful than a longbow and is also very light to pick up. Kangxi took the recurve bow, his purple eyes widened, and he looked at the bow in his hand in surprise. He turned it left and right several times, and asked, which, this recurve bow is so light to hold. Can you really shoot through the skin of a stone-armored crocodile? Kangxi was a little skeptical, because the recurve bow looked smaller than the longbow and was very light to hold. It didn't look like it was very powerful. Don't underestimate this recurve bow. Compared with the same bow with a straight arm, the recurve bow can store more energy, making the arrows shot with higher kinetic energy, Subai said word by word. Kangxi didn't understand these words at all, and shook his head like a rattle. He looked at the other party with a dumbfounded look and asked, which, in short, this gun is very powerful, isn't it? You can try it out and you will know after you try it, Subai said softly. He tried it last time and the power was really good. It is different from the recurve bows on the earth that are just nailed to the wooden stakes. Although they look the same, the power is completely opposite. Can she wait it? He raised his recurve bow, fiddled with the bowstring, and said, which, I believe everything you say. I will take my hunting team companions to hunt the stone-armored crocodile. Well, I'll go today. Go and come back quickly. Subai sipped his saliva and continued, you know the weaknesses of the stone-armored crocodile better than I do. We must deploy our tactics well and don't be too reckless. Clear. Kanshi nodded, ready to test the power of the recurve bow. Gumyu has already made a longbow that can be used by totem warriors, so he has naturally trained it. By the way, I haven't taught you how to use a recurve bow yet. Subai took the recurve bow and showed Kanshi how to operate it. I understand, I'll set off immediately after getting familiar with it. Kanshi nodded seriously. You should know how to plan specifically, so I don't need to say more, right? Subai still believed in the leader of the hunting team. Kanshi nodded heavily and responded, I know, Wu. The recurve bow can still do a lot of damage to ferocious beasts. As long as Kanshi comes back with the stone-armored crocodile, it proves this. Making a recurve bow is not an easy task. Making one is the most it will take at least 2 or 3 days. Now there are only 2 carpenters and stonemasons in the tribe, Gumyu and Shanshan. It is impossible to mass produce. If there weren't too many talents in the tribe, he would have asked people made recurve bows first, not longbows. Now 2 longbows can be made in a day, and they can be replaced at any time even if it consumes a lot of money. Although recurve bows are powerful, the production method is also difficult and takes longer. What Subai planned was to start cultivating or recruiting some talents after regaining his ancestral land. As long as there are more carpenters and stonemasons, whether it is making tools or not, it will be helpful to the development of the tribe. Wu, is it really possible to catch the stone-armored crocodile? Yu Ying filled the wooden cup with water. Subai picked up the water cup, shook his head slightly and said, I'm not sure about this. It depends on whether Kanshi can think of a way. He doesn't know much about the stone-armored crocodile, but what he knows is that the skin of this ferocious beast is very hard. Even if the recurve bow is very powerful, he still doesn't know whether it can penetrate the stone-armored crocodile's skin. If it can penetrate the skin of a stone-armored crocodile, then no matter how long it takes to make this recurve bow, there will be no problem. Uncle Kanshi is very experienced in hunting, I think there should be no problem. Yu Ying blinked her pink eyes and said. Well, trust him. Subai nodded. He put down the cup in his hand and began to continue to plan the next work. After the weapons were temporarily stopped, the next thing was food. After thinking for more than half an hour, Subai took out his pocket watch and looked at it. After a while, he asked Xiao Yu, how is the sewing of the linen clothes going? He taught the fox-eared girl how to sew linen clothes a few days ago. Of course, the styles are just simple short-sleeved tops. Because he really saw that the girls wore too little, and for no other reason, it is not a good thing for girls in the tribe to wear less clothes. People in this era don't know much about etiquette, justice, and shame, and some people don't even think of wearing clothes. But Subai is different, but people who have received 9 years of compulsory education, of course not allow these things to happen. He plans to promote blouses within the tribe. Of course, not everyone has a linen blouse. Based on the reward system, only those who have made great contributions to the tribe will be assigned a linen blouse. And these only 2 or 3 women sewed the linen tops, and they were all good friends of the fox-eared girl. The others were given animal skin clothing at best, and the worst were surrounded by leaves. Wu, look, am I sewing well? Yu Ying happily picked up the linen clothes she was sewing, looking forward to the compliments. Yes, the sewing is very good. After sewing this one, start sewing one for yourself, Subai said with a smile. Yu Ying shook her head repeatedly and said, Wu, we can just wear animal skins. You should wear linen clothes. The fox-eared lady felt a little flattered. Linen clothes were too luxurious for her. Sewing is your first gift as a Maiko. Subai chuckled softly. Okay, thank you. Wu Yuying's face turned slightly red. Please update for support and customization. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 145. Chapter 145, Hunting the Stone-Armored Crocodile. 2 more please customize. Rustling. Chi 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 la. Kangxi was walking in the forest with Heya, Huaming, and De Gua. They were moving very fast. Although the speed is very fast, there is no sound when landing. Only occasionally when passing through dense jungle will the sound of rubbing leaves occur. Big boss, can the stone-armored crocodile really be caught? Heya asked curiously. I don't know. We have to give it a try. We can only see if the weapon the witch gave us can penetrate the skin of the stone-armored crocodile. Kangxi was carrying a recurve bow on his back. Huaming's eyes were always looking at the recurve bow behind Kangxi and asked, why is this longbow different from the longbows we usually train? Wu said that this is called a recurve bow, which is completely different from a longbow. You will know when you get to the lake, Kangxi said. Whatever the witch gives you should be right, Heya said thoughtfully. The main reason is that since Subai took over the tribe has developed quite well, and it has also acquired new weapons, which surprised him. It can be said that Heya has been completely replaced by Subai. Bai surrendered and decided in his heart that he would only follow this person. Tap tap tap. More than 3 hours later, Kangxi and others came to the lake with the stone-armored crocodile and came to the small cliff. Heya blinked his brown pupils and kept looking at the stone-armored crocodiles on the edge of the lake. He said, they still have a good life. They eat well and sleep well every day. They sleep well and eat again, and then bask in the sun after eating. Then you should also become a stone-armored crocodile and soak in the lake every day, De Gua said silently beside him. I don't want to be a stone-armored crocodile. I want to follow the witch. If I follow the witch, I will have meat to eat. Heya refused without hesitation. Kangxi raised his hand to signal everyone to be quiet. His purple eyes focused on a stone-armored crocodile and said, it's up to us whether we can bring back a stone-armored crocodile to Wu. Big boss, do you want me to come? Huaming was the first to stand up. You have been away from the tribe for several days, and you have not trained with the longbow. You will definitely not be able to shoot the stone-armored crocodile accurately. Heya shook his head and said. Black Fang is right, arrows cannot be wasted, they must be accurate. Kangxi said seriously. Huaming put his hands around his chest and said lightly, have you all forgotten what I am best at? Throwing rocks, but throwing rocks and recurve bows are 2 different things, and Wu taught it directly to the big boss, so I think it would be more appropriate for the big boss to do it, De Gua said slowly. That's right, big boss, then you shoot the stone-armored crocodiles, and we'll be responsible for pulling them back. Huaming gave up the idea of operating. Kangxi reached behind his back and took out the recurve bow and arrows, and warned, you must be careful and obey my orders. Clear. Huaming and others responded in unison. Kangxi took the recurve bow, put on the arrow and pulled it to the full string. His purple eyes followed the direction of the arrow and looked straight at the stone-armored crocodile basking in the sun by the lake. Heya and the others frowned, holding their breath as they watched the big boss's series of operations. Call out. A sound broke through the air, Kangxi let go of his hand, and the arrow shot out in response and rushed towards the direction of the stone-armored crocodile. Snapped. A dull sound sounded, and the arrow shot by Kangxi nailed the stone-armored crocodile's head. Ho ho ho. Wow. The stone-armored crocodile also kept roaring in pain, twisted its body and got into the bottom of the lake. A blood-red color appeared on the lake in an instant, and the water was splashed by the stone-armored crocodile. The other stone-armored crocodiles basking in the sun by the lake all rushed into the bottom of the lake because of the roar of the stone-armored crocodile just now. All of a sudden, all the stone-armored crocodiles by the lake disappeared, leaving only ripples on the lake surface. The big boss shot the stone-armored crocodile. Blacktooth's brown eyes have been staring nervously at the lake. Great, finally there is a weapon that can shoot through the skin of the stone-armored crocodile, Frog Ming said happily. Ken Shi's expression was not so pretty, he was still very serious, quietly watching the movement of the lake. He raised his hand to signal everyone to calm down, and said lightly, the arrow just now did not directly hit the target. When it lay down, it ran away instead and alerted the other stone-armored crocodiles. I have just disturbed them. I don't know when they will come ashore to bask in the sun next time, Degwa added. If you wait a little longer, the stone-armored crocodile you just shot will come back again, Kang Shi said seriously. Well, the wound will only hurt more when it comes into contact with water. If the wound is soaked in water for a long time, even a stone-armored crocodile will not be able to bear it, Degwa analyzed. Well, wait a minute. Ken Shi nodded and continued, if other stone-armored crocodiles come out again, I will definitely not let them run away. Yes, everyone nodded. The ripples that were still surging on the lake slowly calmed down. There was no movement for a while. At most, there were only ripples caused by fallen leaves. Half an hour later, the lake began to move. Circles of ripples began to rise in the middle. In less than a minute, the head of a stone-armored crocodile slowly emerged from the lake and began to swim slowly towards the shore. Wow! A stone-armored crocodile was the first to poke its entire head out. When its front paws stepped on the shore, it kept looking left and right. After ensuring that there was no danger, the stone-armored crocodile slowly crawled out of the lake. The 4 to 5 meter stone-armored crocodile just lay on the shore and continued to bask in the sun. The big boss, the stone-armored crocodile, is out, Heya said excitedly. Wait a little longer until there are more stone-armored crocodiles before we take action. Otherwise, if we alarm the stone-armored crocodiles this time, we will have to wait longer next time, Kang Shi said seriously. Good, Heya nodded. Kang Shi's hand gripped the recurve bow tighter and tighter, and his purple eyes stared at the lake tightly, disdainful of mosquito bites. Second update, please support and customize. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 146. Chapter 146, full of treasures. 3 more, please customize. 10 minutes later, 5 or 6 more stone-armored crocodiles climbed up on the shore of the lake, continuing to lazily bask in the sun with their mouths wide open. They all closed their eyes and enjoyed the feeling of the mottled light and shadow reflecting on their bodies, completely forgetting the scene that happened before. The big boss, the stone-armored crocodile, has increased in number, Frog Ming said. Kang Shi continued to lift the recurve bow and said seriously, we can't fail this time. We have to find their weaknesses. Hunting teams are like this when hunting. Every time they go out to hunt, they will first think about the opponent's weaknesses. Only by knowing the weaknesses of ferocious beasts can they save a lot of effort when catching them. Degwa looked carefully, looking at the stone-armored crocodile basking in the sun. He analyzed the big boss. Its only weakness is its eyes. The mouth is also its weak point, Hua Ming added. Kang Shi also observed, shook his head and said, although the mouth is a weak point, it is not enough to completely close it. The big boss wants it to shut its mouth completely and stop making calls to disturb other crocodiles, right? Frog Ming guessed. Well, although the mouth can make it lose its movement, the sound it makes will only disturb other stone-armored crocodiles, so you can't take too many risks. Kang Shi analyzed Hua Ming and continued, the eyes are indeed the only weakness. But we have to shoot through its eyes and its head to completely silence it, otherwise it will still scream, Degwa agreed. Yes, this is a bit difficult. Look around you and be careful. I have to concentrate, Kangxi said seriously. Yes, hey, yeah, and the others nodded in response. Kangxi was a little nervous at the moment. Although he didn't know what Wu wanted the stone-armored crocodile to do, but seeing Wu's nervous look, he knew that the stone-armored crocodile was very important. Even Wu used such a precious weapon after taking them out, Kangxi's tension increased again. He only knew that he had to hunt the stone-armored crocodiles and go back. The stone-armored crocodiles on the lake shore all had their mouths wide open, completely unaware of what was happening on the cliff. Kangxi pulled and pulled. Bowstring, purple eyes fell directly on the pair of eyes of the stone-armored crocodile. Call out. A sound of breaking through the air sounded again. Kangxi found a perfect angle and released the arrow in his hand. Aha! In the blink of an eye, Li Xian's arrow pierced the stone-armored crocodile's eyes, and scarlet blood beads spattered out in an instant. The speed of the arrow directly penetrated the stone-armored crocodile's life. His mouth was still open in a daze, but there was no sign of life. There was only a pair of eyes with arrows stuck in them, and there was blood there, which looked a bit scary. Great, it made no sound, Heiya said excitedly. Yes, if we kill a few more of them, we can complete the witch's mission, Frogming said excitedly. Well, continue to hunt a few and seize the time to get out of here, Kangxi nodded and responded. Chi chi wow la. Whirring. The strange sounds of wild beasts kept coming from the forest, accompanied by the sound of the wind blowing leaves from time to time. An hour later, Kangxi and others hunted 3 stone-armored crocodiles, and they left the forest carrying the stone-armored crocodiles. Tap tap tap. A few hours later, Kangxi and others returned to the tribe. He asked Heiya and others to place the stone-armored crocodiles where they had previously placed their prey, while he carried one to Subai. After receiving permission, he opened the tent curtain and placed the large stone-armored crocodile on the ground. Subai saw that the stone-armored crocodile was killed with one arrow, and said with satisfaction, "It seems that you are very good at using this recurve bow. Wu, your weapons are so easy to use and their power is beyond my imagination," Kangxi said in shock. "Is there anything wrong with the recurve bow?" Subai asked. He was worried that the recurve bow would be easily broken with the strength of the totem warrior. Although there are methods for making recurve bows, after all, this recurve bow is made by the system, and it is always the best. Handy? Wu, what does this mean? Kangxi scratched his head in confusion, and was so happy that he continued, "This bow is so easy to use and so powerful." Subai looked at the bow handed over by the other party and found that the recurve bow was not damaged at all. He thought to himself that this recurve bow was so durable. He blinked his black eyes with satisfaction and asked, "How many stone armors have been caught in total?" Crocodile. There were 3 stone-armored crocodiles in total, and all of them killed the stone-armored crocodiles with one arrow. Kangxi is a little proud. "Very good, you can eat as much meat as you want tonight until you are satisfied," Subai said in a good mood. He hunted 3 stone-armored crocodiles at once, and he could make 3 tang knives. Now he is quite satisfied with the number of 3 stone-armored crocodiles. Subai was even a little surprised. After all, Kang this was she's first time using a recurve bow. He didn't expect to be able to use the recurve bow to such an extreme extent. Moreover, his archery skills were very accurate. Every stone-armored crocodile passed through the eye with an arrow. It was very difficult. Knowing that, he couldn't help but be impressed by Kangxi's strength again. "Thank you, Wu," Kangxi immediately responded. "You send all the stone-armored crocodiles to the hills." "He knows what to do," Subai ordered. Kangxi was stunned for a moment, nodded and said, "Yes, I will send it to the hill right away. Send more people to help him, and keep the meat of the stone-armored crocodile by the way. We will eat the meat of the stone-armored crocodile tonight," Subai added. Yes, Kangxi was looking forward to eating the meat of the stone-armored crocodile. When he left, he took the stone-armored crocodile away. Yuying took a handful of branches and cleaned up the blood stains on the ground that were still there. She pinched her nose and made a low hum, which, the smell of the stone-armored crocodile is so unpleasant. I soak in the lake every day. The smell is so good that I can't smell it anywhere, but it is full of treasures, Subai said with a smile. The stone-armored crocodile can not only be used to make tang knives, but also edible. The most important thing is that it may also be used to make armor in the future. But this will be discussed in the future. The most important thing now is to make the weapons first. Third update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 147. Chapter 147, Are you serious? One more please customize. In the early morning, wisps of golden sunshine on the entire Yanlong tribe. Subai had finished brushing his teeth and was eating breakfast. Today's breakfast was panesedum noodles. Yuying ate some barbecue jerky for breakfast early in the morning, and then ran to take care of the lettuce and peppers. While Xiao Yu is away, hurry up and open an aid package, Subai murmured to himself. System, sign in and open assistance package. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully signing in. Ding. Congratulations to the host for receiving primary aid, a pack of cat food. Bai suspected that he had heard wrongly. He twitched the corners of his mouth several times and slowly uttered two words: cat food. The bag of cat food in front of me is still a well-known brand on the other side of the earth, but, even if it's a well-known brand, it's just cat food. System, is this pack of cat food serious? Subai called silently in his heart. Yes, the host, the aid packages you sign in for every day are randomly opened, and you can get anything, the cold voice of the system sounded. Subai sighed, looked at the bag of cat food, and said, okay, I understand. The bag of cat food seemed to be quite a lot. No, it should be said to be a bag. A big bag of cat food was as big as the earth. Same as the rice bags over there. Why are you giving me cat food at this time? I don't have a cat, let alone, besides, there are no cats here, right? Subai patted the bag of cat food and continued to murmur to himself, if there is a cat in the tribe, I'm afraid it won't live long, right? It will be eaten in no time. He had no choice but to put away the bag of cat food first. Now it's better to put away the things that are coming out of the system first. See if you can feed other animals in the future. Subai suddenly wanted to keep a pet. Think about it, it would be such a healing thing to have a kitten and a puppy clinging to each other in the tent, and the fox-eared lady would also like it very much. Ahem, Subai coughed a few times and muttered, what am I thinking about? He took out a piece of wolf's tail paper and a notebook of wolf's tail paper. He also took out a pencil and an eraser. He asked the fox-eared girl to help make this book of wolf-tail papyrus. He stacked dozens of wolf-tail papyrus sheets together and then threaded them with needle and thread to fix them. Now the paper used by the furry children in the classroom is panesedum paper notebooks, and secondly, each person is given a quill pen. Of course, Subai wouldn't just give these to the kids for no reason. He would directly give them a test. This exam is about dictating the content taught before. As long as you reach the passing mark, you can get a small notebook and a quill. But if you fail this exam, you will get nothing and will have to continue using charcoal and animal skins. This trick will stimulate other furry children's desire to win, and it will not be so difficult to teach them again. This is also one of the strategies. Let people build a simple breeding farm first, Subai muttered to himself while holding a pencil. He drew a circle shape on the paper, and drew a lot of wooden sticks around it. Then he drew different areas inside, some with something on top. None of them are blocked, which represents the place to eat. Some of them are covered with paintings, which are places to sleep. If he hadn't learned to draw on the earth, he could make these sketches understandable, otherwise the drawings would be everything is just line drawing and looks patchwork. Wu, have you finished your breakfast? Yu Ying suddenly opened the tent curtain and walked in. Well, I've finished eating. How are the lettuce and peppers growing? Subai asked curiously. Yu Ying opened her hands and gestured, and said repeatedly, they grow so fast. The peppers have grown so big. It seems that it will be ready to eat in about 10 days. When Subai went to see it 2 days ago, he found that the leaves of the peppers were getting greener and greener. They were no longer the tender green when they first sprouted, but now they look dark green. According to the growth conditions on the other side of the earth, it won't take long. It's ready to bloom. Not only the peppers, but also the sweet potatoes are growing very well. A row of small hills are covered with sweet potato leaves. Woo, but I haven't seen the peppers yet. Where do they grow? Yu Ying asked curiously. Wait for it to bloom, and after it blooms, there will be peppers. Subai smiled and continued, give this to the chief and let him build it according to what I drew. If he doesn't understand something, let him ask me. Yu Ying took the wolf's tail paper, looked at the pattern on it, and murmured to herself, what is this? The fox-eared lady opened the tent curtain and walked out, heading straight to the training ground. The chief went to watch the soldiers train early this morning. Tap tap tap. 10 minutes later, Yu Ying arrived at the training ground, handed over the wolf's tail papyrus with both hands, and said softly, Chief, this is what the witch ordered me to teach you. In the training ground at this moment, the preparatory soldiers were all lifting heavy weapons, squatting and running on rocks. The same applies to those who are not yet ready fighters. They are all practicing weightlifting, but the weight they lift is much lighter than that of the ready fighters. At the same time, there were 25 archers on the other side, and they were also training. This time their hit rate on the wooden stakes has been greatly improved, and almost everyone can hit the target. It's just a matter of whether you can shoot the center point of eye. Compared with the initial miss, it's already much better. The witch gave it to me. The chief took the piece of paper curiously and continued, I understand, you can continue to go back and take care of the witch. Good. Yu Ying nodded and walked away quickly. Yan Hua stopped training and saw the back of the fox-eared girl running away and came to the chief. Her red eyes stared at the piece of paper sideways and asked, Father, is this a new order from the witch? Please update for support and customization. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 148. Chapter 148, Violent Construction. 2 more please customize. If you don't go to training, why come here to watch? Yan Jiao asked seriously. Yan Hua fiddled with his black hair and said, I'm curious what mission the witch gave you. You continue to train me. Yan Jiao put away the wolf's tail paper, stood up and left. Tap tap tap. Yan Hua looked at the chief's leaving figure and murmured, if you don't tell me, don't tell me. I'll ask the witch later. After Yan Jiao left the training ground, he called Shifeng and Ziguo. There are also 3 people from Fernleaf. They all gathered on one side of the toilet. On the other side of the toilet was a field of peppers and lettuce. The reason why I chose this place is because it is far away from where the tribe sleeps, so it won't disturb anyone, and there won't be a strong smell. Moreover, the excrement they produce can also be used as fertilizer, and it does not need to be transported too far when applied to peppers. Chief, what did the witch tell us to do? Shifeng asked curiously. Yan Jiao handed over the wolf's tail paper and said, Wu asked us to build this. The reason why he asked the totem warriors to build this fence was mainly because he wanted the fence to be strong. The totem warriors are very strong and can insert the sticks very deep into the ground in one go. If ordinary people were to do this, to work, you have to dig a hole first and then bury the sticks in it. This is simply unnecessary. The manpower in the tribe is very scarce, but there is not much time for them to waste like this. Shifeng took the piece of paper, frowned and looked for a while, then asked what is this? Ziguo also moved over to take a look, shook his head and said, is this thing used to live in? I don't think so. This doesn't look like a wooden house, and there is too much empty space around it. Do you want to live in it and bask in the sun? Fernleaf denied. This is not used to house humans, but to house wild animals. Yan Jiao said angrily. Ziguo's blue eyes widened and he said in shock, what, is this used to house wild beasts? Shifeng also suspected that he heard wrongly and asked again and again, Chief, is what you just said true? Didn't say the opposite. Is it really the order of a witch to build a place specifically for wild beasts to live in? Fernleaf picked out his ears. Well, seriously, just do it and get some sticks, Yan Jiao ordered. In fact, he had heard about Sudbai's arrangement before, saying that small animals were to be kept in captivity so that they could be eaten when they were raised. These small animals would continue to give birth to babies when they were raised. You can keep a lot of them all the time, so you don't have to risk hunting. The time you spend hunting can be saved for doing other things. Yes. Shifeng and others nodded, turned around and went to prepare materials for building a fence. 10 minutes later, they all came back with a large bundle of sticks, vines, etc., as well as some large leaves. Chief, do you know why? Shifeng was still very curious, and kept speculating in his mind. He couldn't bear it anymore. He always felt that many people in the tribe didn't have to sleep in tents, so why would they build sleeping places for wild animals? This is the witch's order. In order to make the tribe better and better, we just follow it. Yan Jiao picked up a wooden stick and stuck it on the ground hard, and continued, the witch has his own reasons, and whatever he does is for our good. Actually, it's not that he doesn't want to explain. The main reason is that they don't understand Sudbai's approach now. It's better to talk less and do more. Understood, Shifeng and others responded in unison. Dong dong dong. They all followed the instructions on the painazetum paper and began to insert the sticks into the soil one by one. This scene looks very much like the kind of violent construction. The moment the hand is raised and the hand is lowered, the wooden stick is inserted into the soil without any unnecessary movements. In less than 10 minutes, a square wooden fence was built next to the toilet. It was not very large, with a length and width of 3.5 meters and a height of 2 meters. Chief, what's next? The fence has been put up. Shifeng asked. Yan Jiao handed over the piece of paper and warned, take a good look. The next step is to cap it. What is drawn on the paper is to seal the top of the 3.5 meter fence with 1.5 meter. Such a simple breeding farm is built. The reason why it is built so simple is because there are many people in the tribe now. The little beast needs this small fence urgently. Besides, there are only 10 days left before we have to take back the ancestral land of the Yanlong tribe. There is no need to build a breeding farm that is too complicated or too good. We will leave by then. Just there is no need to waste time and materials here, just make a small fence to make a transition. Understood. After Shifeng and others finished reading the drawing, they picked up the wooden sticks and began to seal the top. The wooden sticks for the top were evenly flat and relatively long. After they evenly arranged the wooden sticks on top, they fixed the two sides with vines to avoid slipping. After completing these tasks, they laid large leaves on it to provide shade. Chief, it's set up. Ziguo and others clapped their hands and looked at the results of their construction. Yan Jiao nodded with satisfaction and ordered, have someone catch those little beasts, put them all in, and get some grass for them. Now the little beasts in the tribe have their feet tied with vines and kept in their respective tents. All they are waiting for is to be eaten. It is just a matter of sooner or later. Some people want to eat them a few days later. So he was raised. Wu, I'm afraid they are unwilling to give it. Shifeng said worriedly. Trade them jerky for it, they'll be willing to do it. Yan Jiao said, having dried meat is better than eating some scrawny little beasts. Yes, Shifeng nodded. Second update, please support and customize. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 149. Chapter 149, The Sad-Faced Antler Girl. 3 more please customize. Hoo hoo. In the early morning, gusts of breeze carried the leaves dancing in the air, and after a while they fell gently to the ground. Lulin stretched out her hand to catch the flowers that were blown away by the wind. She kept blinking her golden eyes and looked up at the sky. She was standing in the middle of the tribe. The linen clothes on her body were sewn close to her body. Others in the tribe were wearing animal skin clothes. Antler Girl has been worried these past few days. There is no smile on her delicate face, and her long golden hair is swaying with the wind, looking very elegant. A small pink flower was blown up by the wind and then slowly fell down, lying gently in the palm of the Antler Girl's hand. Gurgling. Gray-green-billed birds are chirping wildly. This kind of bird can be seen everywhere in the spotted deer tribe. Lulin, good morning. Do you want to go eat barbecue in my tribe? There are more. Go to my place, the meat there is better. Such greetings have been ringing in the ears of the Antler Girl. They all respect the daughter of the witch. I wish I could feed her meat every day, and even give her animal skins from time to time. Okay, I will eat it when I have time. Lulin smiled and nodded. Although she had been invited by various people, she only smiled slightly and felt a little disappointed inside. The wooden houses in the middle of the tribe were very densely distributed, and there were many people, all of whom were responsible for their respective tasks. Work. Tap tap tap. Lulin clenched the flower in her hand tightly and walked straight towards the witch house. A few minutes later, the Antler Girl walked into the wooden house and quietly watched her father at work. At this moment, Lushan is busy with the work at hand, which is making witch dominoes. The Antler Girl did not disturb him, but just stood aside and watched quietly, wanting to wait until the other party finished playing the witch dominoes before speaking. Half an hour later, Lushan stopped what he was doing, raised his head and asked solemnly, "What's wrong? You look worried." Father, is our tribe in crisis?" Lulin asked after being silent for a while. "This is not something you should worry about. Just watch the tribal market," Lushan said word for word. "Our tribe is short of salt now, and other tribes also need salt. If we don't have salt, no one is willing to exchange things with us," Lulin sighed. Yesterday was the Spotted Deer tribe's 15-day market, and many people from the tribe came to exchange things. All they wanted to exchange were salt, but the Spotted Deer tribe didn't have much salt. Not as much as the country gave. As a result, those people were not very willing to exchange things, so they just exchanged some dried meat and left. This is what Antler Girl is worried about today. She has been feeling depressed since last night. I've asked the chief to cooperate with the tribe that brought a lot of sackcloth last time. Lushan slowly raised his head and continued to explain, "We can regard linen as the main thing of our tribe and slowly replace salt. I don't need to say more about the importance of linen, right? The last time people from the Yanlong tribe came to exchange salt and dried meat, Lu Yaoniang slept in the wooden house for 2 days because she was sick and didn't know about it. When comparing linen with salt, linen is more important." Lulin said without thinking. "Then don't worry about it, let's wait and see how the chief talks about it." Lushan lowered his head and continued tinkering. Lulin blinked her golden eyes, thought for a moment, and said, "Father, I want to go to that tribe with the chief." "Which tribe do you want to follow?" Lushan's tone is no longer deep, but begins to rise. "Well, I want to go and visit other tribes. I heard that that tribe has a lot of linen." Lulin's curiosity was aroused. "No, you are not a totem warrior yet, you cannot leave the tribe, and you have to help watch the market when the time comes. Lushan immediately objected, with a bit of reproach in his tone. Lu Lin held the side of her skirt tightly with one hand, looking a little nervous. She took several deep breaths and said, "As long as the chief and the others are here, I will be fine. Moreover, the market just passed yesterday, and the next market is still about 10 days away. If I follow the chief and come back, I should be able to catch up with the next market." Lu Lin spoke again before Lu Shan could speak. Although the relationship between Lu Yaoniang and her father is not bad, it is not very good either. She has always been afraid of her father. It cannot be said that she is afraid, more it's about respect, so sometimes I'm a little nervous when facing him. That won't work, it's too dangerous. Lushan still shook his head seriously. "Father, don't you want me to take over the tribe in the future? I think this is a great opportunity." Lu Lin had an idea. Lu Shan was silent for a moment and said, "These two things are not directly related. You can't take this risk. There are many dangers in the forest. Father wants me to take over the tribe, so what if I don't go out to see it and increase my experience?" Lu Lin looked serious and continued, "As long as I have more experience, after I take over the tribe, the people in the tribe will obey my orders more." Lushan felt that what his daughter said made sense, so he began to think about it. "Besides, the chief is going with me this time, and there will definitely be other totem warriors, and they will definitely protect me." Lu Lin saw that her father was shaken and continued to add, "Jealousy, and I won't cause trouble to them. I will take care of myself." Lushan narrowed his golden eyes slightly, without any expression on his face. Time seemed to have passed for a long time. He said slowly, "I know, you can follow when the time comes, but remember not to cause trouble." He still knows that his daughter is well behaved, sensible, and generous, and it is definitely impossible to cause trouble to others. But the danger is definitely there, but he also believes that Lu Shi will definitely protect his daughter. And what Lu Lin said, it makes sense. It's time for her to go out and see the world outside the spotted deer tribe. "Thank you, Father," Lu Lin said happily, her golden eyes were slit with laughter. Third update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 150. Chapter 150, Crocodile Knife. One more, please customize. Boom. 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 There were constant banging sounds in the tent on the hill. He was wearing an animal skin mask and holding a stone hammer in his hand while he was making a tang knife. Since he had the skin of the stone-armored crocodile, he was a lot more excited. He was making a tang knife. Tang Dao is particularly powerful when wielding it. Alright, Shan Shan looked at the tang Dao he had just made with satisfaction, with an uncontrollable smile on his face. The entire tang Dao is similar to the design drawing given by Subai. The only difference is the material. This tang Dao is no longer, it is a steel product, but made of hammered crocodile skin. The overall color is tan, which is the original color of crocodile skin. Shan Shan shook it in his hand and discovered the weight of the knife. It's not light, and it still takes some strength to swing it. He put away the tang Dao and said with great energy, "I don't know what Wu thinks. Let's show it to him." Tap tap tap. Shan Shan wrapped the tang Dao in animal skin, carried it behind his back, and left the tent with his hands on the ground. 10 minutes later, he arrived at the door of Subai's main tent. After explaining his purpose, he was taken in by the fox-eared lady. "Wu, I have already made the tang Dao you want. Take a look." Shan Shan excitedly handed over the tang Dao wrapped in animal skin. Subai took the tang Dao with anticipation. After opening the animal skin, what came into view was a tan stone-armored crocodile knife. His eyes were full of surprise, and he looked at the knife seriously, and finally waved it in his hand a few times. It seemed that the weight of this knife was not small, and ordinary people might not be able to pick it up. Gonna make a fool of myself. I just gave you the stone-armored crocodile yesterday, and I made it today. Not only is it fast, but the knife is also well made, Subai exclaimed in admiration. This knife was a bit unexpected. He thought it was just a slashing knife, so it could be used as the tribe's main weapon. Unexpectedly, this knife looks smooth and sharp. And the hardness of this knife looks pretty good. Which, if the totem warrior uses this knife, it will be of greater use, Shan Shan explained. Is it because it's heavy? Subai knows that the totem warriors are very strong. If the weapon is too light, they will not feel comfortable holding it. This is one of the points. The important thing is that the stone-armored crocodile itself is a ferocious beast, and totem warriors have always eaten the flesh and blood of ferocious beasts to build up their energy and blood. Shan took the Tang Dao and continued to explain. This knife is made of the skin of the stone-armored crocodile. It has good hardness and weight. Its characteristics are very suitable for the totem warrior. That makes sense. Subai nodded with satisfaction, stood up and said, I want to try to see how powerful this knife is. Yes. Shan Shan handed over the knife and followed silently out of the tent. Tap tap tap. 10 minutes later, Subai came to the training ground with the Tang Dao, wanting to try out the power of this knife. He turned his wrist and waved the Tang Dao. Subai's physical strength was getting better and better due to making witch dominoes and eating the meat of ferocious beasts. It is not difficult for him to pick up a Tang sword made of stone-armored crocodile, let alone just dance the sword. Swish swish swish. The Tang knife made of stone-armored crocodile constantly made a sound of breaking through the air when it was swung. The sound was subtle and crisp, not bulky at all. A few minutes later, Subai stopped holding the knife in his hand, nodded with satisfaction and said, It's very good. I can hold this knife very easily, let alone a totem warrior. In fact, he was already a little tired. The weight of the knife is really not light, so it would be more suitable for totem warriors. Subai secretly thought that he could only eat more ferocious beast meat to boil up his energy and blood. What would happen if he didn't increase his physical strength? Wu, would you like to try with a totem warrior, suggested the hill. Aren't you a totem warrior? Just come. Subai handed over the sword. Shan Shan looked a little hesitant and said, Wu, you know I don't have legs, so I can't exert the power of the Tang sword. It doesn't matter if you don't have legs, you are still a totem warrior, not to mention just experiencing the handling of this knife, Subai said loudly. Shan Shan looked at the other party's black eyes seriously and nodded heavily. Yes, Wu. He took the stone knife and started slashing. Every time he struck, he could see the special force and his expression was very serious. After a few minutes, Shan Shan stopped slashing with the Tang knife and handed the knife back with a satisfied look on his face. This was the first time since he broke his leg that he felt so happy, not for anything else but because he seemed to have regained the feeling of being a totem warrior. How about it? Subai asked. Wu, even if I slash with this knife for a whole day, I won't feel tired. Moreover, I won't hear any loud noise when slashing, which will make the opponent unable to react. Shan Shan said excitedly. Subai gestured with the Tang Dao twice and said with a smile, it seems that this Tang Dao was made very successfully. You will have to make more in the future. Yes, as long as the skin of the stone-armored crocodile is enough, I will definitely not let Wu down, the hills responded with great energy. You don't have to worry about this. The people in the hunting team will take time to hunt the stone-armored crocodiles and ensure that you have a stone-armored crocodile for you to make Tang knives every day, Subai said with a slight smile. That's great, the hill is already eager to try. Subai looked at the Tang Dao in his hand and said, it's a bit inappropriate to call it Tang Dao now. Let's call it Crocodile Dao. Crocodile knife? Shan Shan thought for a moment and said cheerfully, Wu, this is a good name. You go ahead and do your work. There are now 18 totem warriors in the tribe, making sure that everyone has a crocodile knife, Subai said seriously. He always felt that only by crushing the opponent with weapons, half of the victory would be seen, and the other half would depend on tactics. I understand that I will definitely make the crocodile knife before taking back my ancestral land, the hill immediately responded. Well, as long as we take back the ancestral land, I will allocate more assistance to you, and then I will find a way to help you stand up, Subai said in a deep voice. Shan Shan was stunned, and became even more excited when he heard that he could stand up. He raised his head and said seriously, "Thank you, Wu." Tap tap tap. Subai looked at the opponent's back as he left with his hands on the ground, thinking that if the opponent hadn't lost his legs, the tribe would have had another general. Please update for support and customization.